our next guest, really, really, really cool dude. I actually had a chance to talk to him further after we did this interview. Amazingly cool dude, let me tell you. But no, he was in Phantom Menace and also in Revenge of the Sith. His name, Christian J. Simpson. Yes, Christian J. Simpson.
Trust me, that J is important.
Yes, emphasis on LJ. But no, yeah, seriously, man, roll that tape, let him hear it. This dude's awesome as hell.
Okay, let's get ready to rumble!
Let's get ready to rumble! Yeah, see there, you gotta get a bass, man, bass.
Rumble, rumble, rumble cats.
Sunday, 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 the main event! Anyway.
Playing now. Welcome, Bombad Radio listeners. Today we have with us Christian J. Simpson, an actor from the original, well, I guess not the original, I guess the prequel Star Wars trilogy, both The Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith. Welcome to the show, Christian.
Hey, it's great to be here, and you can call them the originals if you want. I'm happy with that.
Well, they're the original prequels.
Yeah.
Yes, because there are no sequels to the prequels. Or are there? Ah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Think about that.
That's a whole question. And are there any sequels to the sequels?
Oh, what is this, Inception? It's Star Warsception! Ah, my brain is killing me.
Maybe if we found the notebook, George Lucas's little notebook, we'll be able to see what he originally had in mind, or see what he has written in there.
Okay, for the both of you, let's be realistic for one moment. If any of us had access to that notebook, I'm pretty sure that we would be hoarding it to ourselves for the rest of time, like the greedy little nerds that we are.
Yes, I think we would. And I don't know if you guys have heard the story that he wrote the prequels in the same notebook that he wrote the original A New Hope.
A baking powder? Excuse me? Really?
I understood it was the same binder. Obviously, it would have been different paper. But yeah, I understood it, that he's very superstitious, which is why he always went back to England, thank goodness for my sake, to make some part of all the films. He's very superstitious, so he likes to use the same binder, the same movie studios, the same countries, to try and get the same effect out of the end result. So yeah, that's what I heard.
Wow, really? I was not aware of that. Wow, you know what? Bombad Radio listeners, a little tidbit for you. Because I don't know about you, but I had no clue.
These are the fun little things that I love sharing with fellow Star Wars fans.
Oh, dude, you'll never meet a pair of Star Wars fans bigger than Jeremiah and myself. It's not going to happen.
Cool. Well, there you go. So I've gone straight to the ultimate.
Yes.
I don't know, James. That was just a celebration, and there are some big stuff.
Nope. If I have been financially able to get to Celebration, I guarantee you, I would have been the biggest fanboy there. Bar none, I will stake my reputation and my life on it.
You'd be surprised. But, moving on. So, you're an actor, and I guess would you be a stunt double? Would that be your official job?
I would not. Although that sounds pretty cool, and I should just say yes, I am a fully fledged stuntman. There are basically three types of doubles used in films. So I think what we're talking about here is my work on Revenge of the Sith, where I was Hayden Christensen's stand-in. And stand-in's different from a stunt double or a body double. Stand-in is basically someone who does all the lines that the actor does. So I had to learn all the Anakin parts. And you run through the scene with people like George Lucas and the other stand-ins before someone like Hayden gets onto set. So in the morning, I would turn up at 8 o'clock and I would watch Hayden do a rehearsal, and he's in his jeans and T-shirt. And then he goes off to makeup and hair and costume for an hour or two. And then that's when the stand-in's job is to come in and run through everything for a couple of hours with the lighting director, with the director, in this case, someone called George Lucas, who I think I mentioned.
Who? I have no idea who you're speaking of.
Yeah, he was the director of the movie.
Oh.
Yeah. And run through the sound, see, they test the microphones, everything basically, the blue screen stuff, the motion capture. So yeah, my job was on that film was to be the other Anakin, and as a fan myself, I'm saying these words to you, but they still don't feel real. But there were many points every day during that job, and I use the term job loosely, where George, he started off calling me Christian, but halfway through the shoot, he was just calling me Anakin. So he's like, Anakin, take a step to your left, and let's run that through again, Anakin. And in my head, I'm like, I'm 7 years old right now, and George Lucas is calling me Anakin. I mean, this is just ridiculous.
So essentially, you were there to help them with blocking, help them with camera angles and lighting, so that by the time they film it, they're 100% ready. Since I can't have Hayden on the scene the entire time to set up everything.
Exactly, it saves Hayden, a lot of time, saves the shoot process a lot of time. But it's particularly for the moving shots when you need to get the timing of, where you're going to take your final step and deliver that line and the correct timing and all that stuff you never really think about. Yeah, so they say always two there are, and I was the other Anakin.
Oh, so basically you were like that guy.
I was the apprentice, and he was the master.
I was the student. Now I am the master. Come on, although I do have to ask. I have to ask this. When doing this and, kind of being that stand-in kind of a person, were there any shots that were actually of you that were actually used instead of Hayden Christensen in the movies?
It did transpire that way, yes. Yeah. So one that comes to mind was right at the end on Mustafar. There's a close-up of Anakin's left hand as I think he loses his lightsaber and he does a forced pull and the lightsaber lands back in his hand. So, yeah, there's a shot of me actually on my Facebook page lying under the camera that was taken from the webcam that they had on StarWars.com. So you can see me lying under the camera as it looks at my left arm. So stuff like that where it really doesn't matter whose hand it is, they would use it. It's easier that way.
Okay, so you originally were brought into Star Wars for The Phantom Menace, which we know there was so much hype, so much secrecy at the same time to do with the filming and making of Phantom Menace. Yeah. So how were you brought on board, and what was your experience like working on Phantom Menace?
Wow, you're asking me about the most awesome moment of my life, which is finding out that I got that part in that film. Because, yeah, I mean, back then, we have a different perspective on the movies now, and they've come out and they're kind of old now. That was 13 years ago I shot that, but back then, yeah, I was working as an actor, and I wanted to get my agent to do anything they could to get me on that film. I mean, I was making calls, they were making calls, and I sort of came at this from Yoda's advice, which is try not, do, or do not, as we all know. And I didn't just try. I mean, I went full out because I was hearing that these films were going to come to London, and there I was living in London, the biggest Star Wars fan you can imagine. And can you imagine if you hadn't got a part in those films and you're an actor? I mean, it would have just been unthinkable. So I had to make it happen. And the irony was I actually saw a newspaper advert looking for extras for the film, and ended up going to that casting call, which was nothing to do with my acting agent, and getting booked as a smaller character, a background actor, as they affectionately call them, which then turned out to be a pilot, which then turned out to be a pilot with a character name, which was Lieutenant Gavyn Sykes, Bravo 6. Which then turned out to have a video game, the Battle for Naboo Episode 1 game, where you play the whole game as that character. And that character then ended up in Star Wars Galaxies, the online game, as a character. People could go up and he'd give you a mission. So it was a really weird full circle to be an actor that got a job as an extra that got promoted to an actor.
Wow, that's crazy. Because I mean, not to get too into it, I have played a little bit of it, and I have played also a little bit of Star Wars Galaxies. Not a lot, I'm not going to lie. but I am aware of the character, and basically that's you. That's what you're telling us. That is you.
Yeah, I mean,
that's crazy. That's so cool, though. As a fanboy, I'd be sitting there clapping my Dorito stained hands up and down in my room, going, "Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I can't believe it!" Well, I mean, did you have that kind of reaction though?
Yeah, I mean, when I got the call to say, I mean, I had to audition. I had to go to a casting call, and it was a big deal anyway. But when I got the call from that agent saying, they just casually phoned me up and said, Christian, are you free for 8 weeks in August? This was 1997. And I'm like, yes, why? And, they want you for Star Wars. And I'm jumping up and down and like doing the fist bump and in the air. But on the phone, I'm like, oh, great. Yes, I'm available. Okay. I guess you don't want to sit.
Let me check my schedule. I think I might be able to fit you in. Yes, I think I can fit George Lucas in right here.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'd be like, oh, my God. Oh, man, if I were in that position, I'd be fist pumping too, man. Believe you me.
That's it. And that's the weird thing that you have to do when you're both a fan and a supposedly professional. It was the same thing when George was calling me Anakin. In my head, I've got the Dorito stained hand clapping going on, and on the set, I'm like, I'm professional. Yes, I'll take a step to my left and deliver that line for you.
I'm sorry, I can't help it. I gotta laugh a little. Oh man,
it's going on. Yeah.
Okay, so I know I don't know if you've ever seen your Wikipedia page, but on Wikipedia.
Yes.
There's a quote about you talking about your experience with the Yoda puppet. I don't know if you know this quote.
I do. I looked at that, funny enough, a couple of weeks ago, and I conveyed part of that quote to you just now. But yes, I know what you're going to say.
So, what can you tell us about this? Your experience, because your quote says, you stare at the Yoda puppet for 2 hours. And then you talk about how you think he winked at you and so on. So what was it like, working on Phantom Menace with, seeing the puppets, seeing Yoda, seeing Frank Oz, seeing all these different people? And do you have any cool stories or experiences from that set that you want to share?
I have way too many to fit into your show. Well, yeah, I mean, the thing with the puppet, so on Phantom Menace, they had the... as you know, it was the puppet, it wasn't the CGI version because he hadn't perfected the CGI by then. And that puppet was used primarily at the end celebration. You see my character there just behind Natalie Portman on that final scene. And you see the puppet standing there as well. And it had all these, I want to say cables, but they were sort of air piston things, so they would push air through this tubing that would make his ears move and so on and so forth. So there wasn't a Frank Oz on the set because it was just the puppet masters were just doing these air pistons and stuff. So as far as I know, he only voiced it later. But the weird thing was that working on that set, 1997, you've got Kenny Baker and all these people there. When I went back on Revenge of the Sith, I was doing stand-in, and it was the scene in the meditation chamber where it's just Anakin and Yoda. And because it's now fully CGI, that puppet is there, but it's only there as an eyeline and as reference for Hayden to use. So this poor version of the Yoda puppet, and you can see it on, I have some shots of that on my Facebook. But he's now cross-eyed because the puppet's just deteriorated over the I guess 7 years gap. One ear is hanging down in a very dejected fashion, and you're staring at this Yoda puppet, thinking, okay, I'm traveling back to 1997, remembering that set, but then I'm also thinking of my childhood, when I saw Empire Strikes Back and I was eight years old, and watching Yoda say those lines that then shaped my life to then be so determined to become part of Star Wars. And then here I am full circle looking him in the eyes for about an hour straight because I had to keep the eye line for them to do the lighting and the cameras. And you start to hallucinate when you stare at a cross-eyed Yoda puppet on a blue screen set. You just can't. It's just a very surreal experience. And yeah, I swear he winked at me. But how ironic is it that it was his words that made me so determined to end up living in that moment? Very crazy.
Wow, and that is a true fan, right? So you got to work as a Naboo pilot. You got to work as a stand-in for Hayden Christensen, or I guess the devil of Hayden Christensen. You also got to work, I believe, as a droid. Did you not?
Yeah, that was I'd forgotten that. Thanks for reminding me. That was a very small thing that I did on Revenge of the Sith, which was effectively motion capture for BD-3000, who was the female luxury droid. That was her other name. So on Revenge of the Sith, we had a blue screen staircase, which was leading up to the Galaxies Opera House. And there's a scene where Anakin runs up the stairs to go meet with the Emperor, or with, Sidious. And George didn't tell me what I was going to be doing, but he said it's going to be a droid, and he said just stand here and kind of make droid action with your hands, and we'll put it in later. And that's all I got. So, quite surprised. About a year later, when the movie came out, and I've got big metal breasts.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I have to laugh.
Yeah, you didn't tell me I was going to be a 6'2" female droid. Okay.
Well, now you know.
Now I know.
Oh, I'm sorry, my friend. I really am, but I can't help but laugh at that. That's just funny to me. And here's the reason why. Now, I'm not sure if you've been to our forums or not. A lot of our guests haven't, and that's understandable. But in our forums, we have a lot of people. We have guys that like to role play female characters and vice versa, females that like to role play males. And to me, just hearing that, it smacks so much of the forum and the way we role play that I can't help but laugh a little bit, because there are so many people I know and that Jeremiah knows that would be like, oh my God, and would jump at that chance.
Yeah, I wasn't complaining at all, but yeah, that stuff goes on in the real Star Wars filming universe as well as the forums. Yeah,
oh my goodness. Well, you know what? On that note, though, I would like to ask. Now, going through your, let's say filmography. You've done, stunt double in Star Wars. You've also done things for, Batman, Harry Potter. And I'm curious, what was it like to actually know, like when you saw these movies on the big screen, to know the little parts where you know for a fact it was you?
Yeah, it's very weird. It's one of those things that you expect is going to be incredible, and you're going to, flip out or not be able to get over it. And yet the reality is always more mundane, just because it is, on one hand, you've got that thing going on in your head where you're a fan, but on the flip side, it is a job. I mean, you're going to the office. It's how you earn your living. So when you see it on the big screen, it's like, it's cool, but you're also like, oh, that's that scene. I had a donut just sitting down in the corner near there, or that's the bit when it was blue screen and then they must have put that in. Yeah. So you always relate it back to the more mundane kind of everyday filming process. Mm-hmm. And I'd say that as well, kind of as a comfort to fans who, would, like me, would have done anything to be on the movie, is the weird thing is when you get there, the reality is never as cool as it would have been in your imagination. And
okay, all right. I'm kind of getting what you're saying. It's kind of like you have this sort of expectation in your head But the second you get there and it becomes like real life, it almost kind of smacks you upside the head and goes, no, this is how it is.
Kind of, yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things where imagination is always a bit better than reality. And I'm not saying it wasn't an amazing experience, but I felt at the time like I think fans like me would find comfort in knowing that it's never as cool, and it kind of spoils the movie because, like I said, you think, oh, that's where I had that sandwich, and that's the bit that didn't exist on the set, and it was just made of wood painted blue. So it kind of spoils the way you enjoy the movies. So I think I'm kind of envious of people who didn't get to work on it, and that may sound bizarre. Maybe not, I don't know. But at least anyone who didn't work on it gets to just see it purely as that universe completed and with any memories that distract you and take you out of it.
Okay.
It's an interesting, dichotomy, yeah.
So was there, you got to be on the set a lot, especially for Revenge of the Sith. Was there anything that was filmed that either you wish had been put into the movie that you thought would be really cool to put in there that you were able to participate in, or that you filmed it and when it came on the screen it was not exactly what you thought was being filmed, was completely different than what you thought would turn out to be?
There were a few moments. One that comes to mind that was actually more of just a cool, interesting story is when Anakin has to go in and kill all the Jedi at the temple, including the younglings. Do you remember that shot of when he walks in and there's the younglings hiding behind the chair, and one of them, I think he says, Master Anakin, there's too many of them, what are we going to do?
Uh-huh. And then he snaps on the light.
And he gets that look on his face. I remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah, and you kind of get chills watching that because it's so dark. But on the set, we couldn't get the youngling actors to look scared enough. First of all, they got confused that little kid. He was a really sweet little kid and a cool actor, but he got confused because I'm wearing the same costume as Hayden. So at first he was asking, which one of them am I going to be? Which one am I scared of and stuff? So I had to kind of take a step back, and we explained that Hayden's going to come in because we run it through with me first. So if you're 7, it's kind of confusing. And then we did about 7 or 8 takes, and the kid just didn't look scared enough. Because you've got to appreciate, it's all blue screen. He's seen Hayden laughing, minutes before, between takes. So what Hayden did was on the 9th take, he walks in, the kid delivers the line. He's flipping a switch on a lightsaber that doesn't work, which just, again, isn't scary. But then Hayden just looked at the kid and just went, "Rah!"
Are you serious? He just literally screamed at the kid to scare the ever-loving hell out of him?
Exactly. Lunged forward, screamed in his face. Kind of scared
Oh
me.
my God! If I were a 7-year-old, I'd be scarred for life.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Wouldn't you be, if you were that kid and you put yourself in that position, Don't you think you'd be slightly scarred for life hearing that and just watching Anakin Skywalker go bah! At you? I mean, I would.
Exactly. And I think he had the contact lenses in as well, so Hayden looked pretty scary. And that's the take they used.
So, Bombad Radio listeners, when you're watching it and you see that part where he flips that lightsaber, just think to yourself, because that's how it happened.
Yeah. You can see the kid, he does like a little double take and like falls back onto his back foot, and he's like, what the? And then he goes and hides behind the chair. It's awesome.
Oh, that is too funny, my friend. Absolutely too funny.
Yeah.
Although, I would like to ask, kind of veering away from Star Wars just a little bit, because we are aware of your work on Batman and the Batman films. What was it like working on those films?
Well, I was immensely lucky. I actually worked on Batman Begins, which was was then was just a standalone film, and I feel very lucky now in hindsight that it became part of the Dark Knight trilogy, which is this record-breaking. It's the #1 saga of all time, and I worked on that for 2 days, so I kind of feel unfairly cool by association, but that was shot. My scenes were at Bruce Wayne's birthday party in Batman Begins, and we have a little interaction. You can see me pat him on the back, and he gives me a nod as we're all singing Happy Birthday, and then I'm just basically standing next to him through his whole speech.
Oh my God, I know what you're speaking of. I watch those movies constantly. That's you?
That was a cool, really well acted scene.
Oh my God. I am so jealous of you right now. You have no clue.
I'm jealous of me.
And that's how you know a fan, when they're jealous of themselves.
Because it's a long time ago, now I just want to be back there. But yeah, we filmed that in North London at an incredible Gothic-styled building called Mentmore Towers. And it's doubled as Lara Croft's house and Batman and, you name it. It's the go-to, old Gothic British mansion. And yeah, that was an incredible day in my life because I didn't know who was going to be there. And I turned up to work, knowing only Christian Bale was going to be there, and then Rutger Hauer turns up, and then Morgan Freeman turns up, and then Liam Neeson, who I'm friends with from Star Wars, shows up, and I mean, you name it, these incredible actors, and they're all there telling stories and chatting between takes, and that plus Chris Nolan. I mean, just an incredible day. So yeah, that I feel eternally lucky to have been involved in such a small way in that.
Just the fact that you can say, Liam Neeson's your friend is pretty much amazing right there.
Well, yeah, I have to agree on that. I really do, because think about it. If anybody ever messed with you at all, you could call Liam Neeson and go, dude, this person is bugging me. Can you help me out? And the next thing you know, Liam would be like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you are. But I will find you, and I will kill you. I mean, how epic is that?
He is awesome. But, in real life, he's just such a softie. And it takes me back to filming Phantom Menace. I was lucky enough to be able to watch I want to say duel, but it was a trio. What do you call that when it was Ewan and Liam and Darth Maul?
It's still a duel. It will still say it's a duel. It's just with 3 people instead of 2.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 on 2. 1 on 2.
Yeah, it was. I'm watching him doing that. I mean, fair play to him. He did some awesome lightsaber moves, but the stuff you don't see in the final edit is all the stuff that they sort of, they did a lot of quick cuts to him fighting and stuff, but when you watch him doing it for real, he just comes off as such a softie. There's a lot of apologizing, and if he accidentally gets the wrong angle, or gets someone's finger with the edge of his blade, or I'm terribly sorry, it's just so different to the final cut watching it happen live. So I'm not sure I would call on him to help me out in that situation, because he would just end up befriending the person, and yeah, that might work to my benefit.
That could. So I guess you have one other major franchise which you've also was able to work with. You did, if you worked on Batman, you worked on Star Wars, but you also was able to work on Harry Potter, which it's a little known franchise that some people might have heard of, especially in England.
Of course, Jared. No, a few people have heard it, but not many, because who pays attention, to like things like that.
Which one? Harry what?
Who?
Harry Potter.
Harry who?
It's a small British indie film.
Oh, okay.
It was written by that little-known Scottish lady, Mrs. Rowling. Yeah, I did work on that. Now you just reminded me. Well,
I'm glad.
Yeah, I again was very lucky, and was a very, very small cog in a huge machine. And I played the older version of Fred Weasley. There's a scene where, in the Goblet of Fire, the Weasley twins get thrown across the hall at Hogwarts, And yeah, I got to wear the long beard and the long wig to portray an older version of that character. Purely, I was the same height as the actor at that point, and I guess similar facial features or whatever. But yeah, kind of can't believe it when you reminded me. But I feel so grateful to have been involved in that as well.
You also worked on quite a bit of television, I believe, if my memory does not betray me. Shows like MI5 and EastEnders and so on. So you've worked on television, you've worked on film. Which do you prefer, the work on like the big budget films, or do you prefer working on smaller budget yet more, I guess, faster production television?
I'd have to say that the films. I mean, it just for how awesome they become later. They sort of evolve. That's the weird thing. TV is great because, like you said, it is quick, and you go in, you know exactly what lines you're going to say. You shoot them, and then and that's Christian wrapped for the day, and then you go home. But just, I guess my experience is perhaps slightly unique, but the films that I've done, they've always seemed to evolve, and they keep on this life of their own. Like with Star Wars, like I said, it became the video games, and then they re-released it in 3D, and it all sort of happened again. And Harry Potter, they're building another theme park at Universal Studios in Hollywood for that, which is just going to be incredible. And Batman becomes this saga that people worship. So I don't think I could top that. So I have to say movies for sure.
Okay, so and you definitely worked on quite a few movies. So I know you're talking to Wes, so you obviously like talking to the fans. So what's your experience like with Star Wars fans? Which I know sometimes Star Wars fans can be quite, we'll say, enthusiastic, to put it mildly. So what do you like? What's your experience with Star Wars fans and fandom in general? Since you've been in the movies, they've obviously know who you are. Probably more about you than you know about yourself.
Sometimes, in fact, yes, about the character. I'm always finding out details. But one of the things that I love doing is going to conventions, and just like I said earlier, meeting up in person with Star Wars fans, because I want to convey my experiences from a fan perspective. So that's one of the things that I just adore doing. And I actually have a convention coming up in Newfoundland in Canada, which is called Atlanticon. Atlantic as in the Atlantic Ocean, because they're right on that coast. So Atlanticon is going to be 29th and 30th of September. And that's the sort of thing that I love doing. And one of the things that I did as well, because I wanted to kind of take fans with me as part of the experience, was when I was shooting Revenge of the Sith, I kept an on-set diary. So every night I would go home, while it was still fresh in mind, I would write up my experiences working with George and Ewan and Hayden and Natalie from a fan perspective, so that I could share it. And you can find a link to that on my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Christian J. Simpson. And I get great enjoyment from fans being able to go and just read that. And I don't get anything out of it, but it's kind of bridging that gap, I fan. So,
all right, okay. Well, if I may go on that vein, if I may.
You may.
Now, knowing this, I'm kind of curious. Now, would you be willing maybe to share, if not your favorite, but a story from said diary? Because I can guarantee you that as much as we would love to read it, and I guarantee you we will read it, me, Jeremiah, the fans, everybody, we will read it. But I can almost guarantee you we'd love to hear at least one of these stories from the horse's mouth.
Yeah,
would you be willing to do that for us?
I would. Seeing as it's you guys, for anyone else I'd say no, just don't be so lazy. Go and read it. But seeing as it's you guys, I'll be delighted to do that. In fact, I'm going to go one better. One thing that I always regret is I didn't keep a diary filming The Phantom Menace. So let me recount one or two funny stories.
Oh, please do. Please do. We would love to hear it.
Then you've got an exclusive. So one thing that comes to mind, we filmed a lot of stuff they didn't use for the Phantom Menace, but there was one shot where it was me. The camera was, this just sounds incredible saying it, but the camera was just on me and my ship and my droid.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Continue.
I feel the same way. I want to laugh too. It had R2C4 in the back, who was the yellow droid that was associated with Lieutenant Sykes. So they wanted a shot of me running up this little yellow ladder. I jump in the ship, push a few buttons, I close the canopy, and there's a couple of tangents here, but camera's on me. Like, can you imagine the pressure? So I run up the ladder, I jump in the ship, I close the canopy, I'm feeling so cool. I'm like, damn, that was good. I feel like I'm a pilot. And I look outside at the crew and the director and the cameraman, and they're all kind of shaking their heads and laughing. And I'm like, what? What did I do? So I have to open the canopy to receive the information. And as I do that, I realize my long Naboo pilot cloak got caught in the canopy and is flapping outside the ship. So, you know that thing when you're driving along in the car and you've caught your jacket in the car door and there are people kind of pointing at you?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Other pilots, other Bravo Squadron in space, like pointing at me, like tooting their horn on their ship, saying and pointing at my cloak as I'm flying towards the Federation ship. Yeah, that's embarrassing. So we did that about 4 or 5 times until I managed not to shut my cloak in the canopy door. And there was a point where the camera guy said to me, no pressure, but this costs about £5,000 per minute of film that we're wasting here. So, yeah, so that's a lot of pressure. But the tangent to that, and you will now never see a pilot apart from Anakin closing his canopy door, was because they didn't relay an important piece of information to us, which was the way you close the canopy is there was a rope down by foot level. When you pulled the rope from your feet back towards the back of your seat, it would close the canopy and make it look automatic. But we didn't know that, and nobody conveyed that for some reason. So we all closed the canopy by pushing our hand up onto the actual glass and pushing it back like an old World War II bomber or something. And that's why you'll never actually see any pilot doing that, except Jake Lloyd, who knew where the rope was. So it was basically a Spitfire.
That's kind of cool. It was a Spitfire in space.
Exactly. I thought the should have used that, but yeah, I guess it wasn't what they wanted.
Okay, so we're almost out of time. We still have some time left, but before we run out of time, we want to give you what we refer to as the Soapbox.
Yes.
And you can so you can plug yourself, you can plug future projects, current projects, any charity or event you're working on, anything you'd like to plug, or
anything you want to say.
Fans.
Exactly, anything you want to
say. The Soapbox
say.
is yours.
Talk to the fans, talk to us, talk to yourself. We don't care. That's the whole point of it. If you want to anything on your mind that you want to say, you can say.
I'm sad that we're out of time, and I had so many stories to share. I was going to tell you about me kissing Ian McDiarmid in front of George Lucas.
But share this story. Share this story.
I got to hear this.
Well, I was going to say I'll let people read about that on the blog, but just there's other stuff like that. But just briefly, I guess I should clarify that in case anyone doesn't read it and gets the very wrong idea. Yeah, I was standing in. Often when standing in, you'd find yourself with the actor that's playing the other part. So I did a lot of stuff, running through stuff with Ewan, just because Hayden's hair and makeup would take longer. So there's one scene where it's just me and Ian McDiarmid, and I'm kneeling by his chair, and it's in the Galaxy's Opera House, where Anakin comes to kind of kneel by his chair. And George is standing kind of explaining what he wants this to happen in the scene, and he's saying, all right, now, all right, so again, you kind of look at Sidious, and you just kind of take a moment there, and then he just paused for way too long, and me and Ian are looking at each other, and I'm kneeling down by him, and I had to fill the silence, so I just said to George, kiss?
Oh my God!
Oh, shit, what have I said? I broke professionalism. I lost all my professionalism. And then there's even more silence, and George is just staring at me, and I'm staring at George. And then I look to Ian, and Ian looks to me and then up to George. And then George goes, yeah, kiss. So at least in the end, he played along with the joke. But I have to clarify, we didn't kiss. I was just kidding, and that was very embarrassing on the set.
I take it this wasn't when Jet Lucas was on set watching him film.
Oh, dear Lord.
I can't recall, I have to say, yes. Jet was around. He was around. We chatted a bit. He was very happy and excited to be on the set. Yes.
On that note, my friend, the soapbox is yours.
All right. Let me see. Okay. Well, I think come and join me on Facebook.com/Christian J. Simpson, because I still share little tidbits from working on those movies and other cool movies. And I like to kind of take my fellow fans with me for the journey out here in Hollywood of auditions and just the cool little funny little things that you find yourself doing as an actor and a writer. Also, little known fact, I'm a songwriter as well. So
really?
Yeah, if anyone's interested, they can check out. I have an album. It's on iTunes and Amazon MP3 and Spotify and all those places. So if you just search for CJ Simpson, so my first two initials, that's my songwriting stage name. So yeah, check out CJ Simpson on iTunes, and I have an album called Pop Vox, which is basically pop songs with guest vocalists. And there are links to that from my Facebook as well. Let me think. Yeah, as far as acting goes, I have a movie coming out around November. It's called Cry for Revenge, and it's a Tarantino-esque kind of grindhouse homage. It's shot in a 70s style, complete with breaking film reels in the middle of the movie and all that cool Tarantino-esque kind of stuff. So yeah, check out Cry for Revenge sometime in November. I think that's probably more than enough to put on my soapbox.
Okay, and we'll send our fans your way to find you on Facebook, and we'll stay in touch. We like talking with anyone who's been on because we like making contacts and staying friends. So we'll probably talk with you more in the future because you have lots of stories, and I'm quite sure our listeners, after hearing this episode, will want to have you on again to tell more stories.
Jared.
Cool. It would be my pleasure, genuinely.
Well, you know what, Christian, if I may say, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. We really appreciate your time. And anytime you'd like to come back on, all you have to do is send us an email, Facebook. Doesn't matter. We don't care. You want to come back on, you're more than welcome.
Cool. I might do that, or I'll get Liam Neeson to ask you guys.
Liam Neeson? So when you and your friend Liam want to be on, I think we can set up an
Oh, yeah. No, Jerry, you're right. I totally think we could set aside a little bit of time in our very busy schedule for that.
You guys
might have to pencil you in.
Hilarious.
But you know what, though? We've taken up so much of your time as it is. Ladies and gentlemen, Christian J. Simpson, give it up. Christian, amazing interview. Thank you so much for your time. We're so glad to have you on the show. We really are.
James, Jeremiah, thank you guys as well. Right back at you. And it was all my pleasure. And yeah, we'll speak soon. Definitely. Take care and...